Well, so if you are not interested in classical music, you're in luck because Mr. Evan House has also created a whole slew of other music that we're going to talk about next. And you can hear this music easily on iTunes or Apple Music or anything like that. Most of these are produced as albums, and I want to talk about all of them. Let's start with an interesting songwriting album called The Adventures of Freddie, which I think was created in 1998. You recently reissued it in 2023, but because it does seem to be first, I'd like to find out a little more about this massive songwriting song cycle, Adventures of Freddie.
Yeah, very near and dear to my heart because, starting with a little four-track cassette machine, I used to do my songs and play all the instruments, but I never did it very well. I never polished it. I always sang out of tune, sped up, slowed down on the drums or whatever. I didn't really care. But when I was living out in Kansas, this was a major kind of a turning point in my life, I guess. I'd graduated from Michigan with my doctorate, got my first job as one is supposed to do, and I'm out in Pittsburgh, Kansas teaching. And I had the one time in my life, sort of had a crisis, I guess, mental crisis of confidence. They used to call it a mental breakdown or what have you, but I got very, one of those things that for a person who's suicidal, they would be thinking about suicide. I'm not a suicidal person. It's something I've always ruled out, but still, I've had the same, like, I was late, I was brought low, we'll say. And so I had to get a piece of paper out to get myself out of this. I did some physical exercise, and then I got a piece of paper and I said, make a list of all the things you want to do in life. And one of those things was I want to make an album, rock album. Like I want to really make a rock album. I've been flirting with it with my four track, but I've just never done it. This is 1998. I've been flirting with it for 15 years. So I met some guys that had a studio in town. I assembled the songs I wanted to play, and we went at it. And I made that album. A lot of them, some of the songs had been written years before. Some had been written a year before or half a year before. But it was like all my albums. All my albums are song albums are pretty much a collection of the best things I want to do right now. It's like these are the songs. Here's 10 songs that I can't wait for the next album to do them. I want to get them off the desk now. I listened to your demo. You know what I'm talking about. You've made songs too.
Right, absolutely. And I got
Yeah,
to get them out of there. Got to clear the cache.
yeah. Got to clear the cache. So Adventures of Freddy was my first cache clearing, and has also coincided with the very first use of Pro Tools. Pro Tools was brand new, and so when I saw Pro Tools in the studio and got my hands on it, I was like, "This is the future." And also, by the way, Resolution number 3, Southeast, one of my probably my best electronic piece, was also my first personal Pro Tools piece, experimental Pro Tools piece. But that, I mean, that's what set that up, and so I got it done. And what the 2023 remix is that on the original album, I used a pseudonym Hause, Hoss, because I actually pronounce my last name Hause, and most people say House, but I
Oh,
say
sorry about that.
that's all right. I should have told you that before, but I didn't mean to put you on the spot. But no, I get House all the time. So I wanted to get that off of it because I couldn't show up in Evan Haas's works if it were under Hoss. So, and they wouldn't let me. You can't do that unless you change the cover. So I decided to take the whole thing down and redo it. And in that process, worked in a local studio with a friend and who does Atmos and immersive. So I did an immersive mix and remixed it, remastered it, and that's what that is. So, and that leads to my album coming out right now because it's also a whole new batch of 14 songs or compositions that, and in this case, all in on the immersive surround mix. That's Freddie, and the first song is called Freddie. I think it's one of my best songs, and so The Adventures of Freddie. There you go.
Freddie said with a grin, to let us all in and make the world just turn out right. I said my dream wasn't scary, just a little on the sad side, enough to make them want to carry the weight of a world drowning in pride. Oh, Freddie, how do you know so much? Oh, Freddie, let's keep in touch. Oh, Freddie, where did you learn the things you know? Oh, Freddie, we'd hate to see you go. He said there was a whole lot more.
Great. Anything in particular you want to say about your approach to words? Do you write stories? Do you write poems, or do the words only come in service to lyrics?
Working in reverse, I'm really getting bad at words, and I'm really getting, and they're slowing me down. I feel not. As I get older, I want to do it less. But when I was young, they just poured out of me. I would write. I would just write pages of lyrics, verse, chorus, and then I'd mix and match. And then I'd have this virtually fully formed song over here, and I'd mix and match. This works, and then that's pretty much how I've always worked. But lately, I've become more selective, I guess, about the words, and I'll still try to write a lyric and write rhyming couplets, about the length of a song. And like just recently when I was in Switzerland, I actually dug up a lyric or two and finally put them to guitar, made the song out of them. And I have a few more like that. But yeah, so I'm trying to, songwriters, some of them they just make beautiful music, and then some melody will come out of their throat, and then they'll figure out the words to go with it. That was never me. I'm trying to do some more of that. But it's mostly mix and match. Yeah. Like some kind of sentiment. What is it? Is it a story? Is it not? Sometimes it's a story, and sometimes it's an observation, a very minuscule thing, like haircut for me, a song about a haircut. Things that, like the Beatles. The Beatles, they have a song for farewell, they have a song for good night, they have a song for happy birthday. They have a song for every occasion. So sometimes I think, well, sometimes you need a song for having wet socks or something.
Right.
Pete Seeger would agree. I think he espoused you need a song for it. There's a song in just about anything.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to 2017, Mad Geography. This is a lyricless affair, if I remember correctly. It's very much a King Crimson type thing. Am I accurate in that? That's what I heard.
Yeah, those are some things I wrote on my guitar, pushing the envelope. This is going to be mixed meter. It's going to be some really cool licks, piecing them together, and then fleshing them out almost the way one of them, the songs Red Eye, I actually fleshed out through writing, like I've composed classical music. So that was kind of the first time that I brought together my classical writing chops, for lack of a better word, to something that was rock oriented, and composed a rock piece. They're little imitative figures and things, and layers of 5/7 that embed. other songs on there, like, and also I think Study in Flack is that too. But other ones like Daisy Chain was something I just hammered out on the guitar, and just it's just time to put it down. So it's kind of like a collection of these outstanding things that were sitting around that belonged together. They didn't belong next to a country song. They belonged together.
Right.
And I still, like, on the new album, I have like probably one song that belongs on Mad Geography and another song that belongs on Jade. You know, that they're still happening. It's like I'll have to reorganize how everything is grouped at some point. But so
Well, from there we go to Plastic Island Pentecost, 2018, and this one really got to me. I was so happy to hear this one. These are prog rock masterpieces, every one of them. There's, your Yes comes out here. Even I don't know if this will make you happy, but even like early Billy Joel, when his attempts to be prog rock, I just love this record, and all your orchestral chops are there, and they're put in the service of rock. It's kind of like what Yes could have done if they'd known as much about orchestra as you, that type of thing. Really like this stuff.
well, thank you very much. That's probably my favorite album. And I'm a big King Crimson fan and Gentle Giant, now a Gentle Giant fan as well. All those Genesis, all those people. So that was definitely it was definitely a prog rock approach. The opening sounds like it could be Steve Hackett from Genesis. But there are some other things, like the next tune is like this third stream heavy hitting thing, which could have belonged on Mad Geography, but it's there. The funny thing about Plastic Island Pentecost is that I was writing this tune. It's actually the fourth tune on the album, called Baldus Ardens. It didn't have a title at the time. I called it Genteel Giant because I didn't have a name. I was like doing something Gentle Giant-y, with doo 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 doo. And I was writing, and I got to this place where this other thing, which becomes a hymn to the lake, this kind of nice piano thing. And I was like, this is kind of the beginning of a prog rock album, and this is kind of the end of a prog rock album. I literally took that approach and composed the middle. Like I, there were a couple tunes, like the one vocal tune. There were some things that were pre-written that I got in there, but it was a kind of a funny thing where it's like, this is how it opens and this is how it closes, and I've got 40 minutes of music, which is going to be fun. Didn't know if I'd be able to do it, and I did. There's some neat little things in there, like Sin for the Captain would have been pre-composed. I had already had that but I didn't know what the words were going to be. So then I realized it doesn't need words. And so right where the words are supposed to be is when I put this radio. It's actually the broadcast of the night the Edmund Fitzgerald sang. And I took the radio broadcast, ship-to-shore radios that's available on the Coast Guard website or something from that day, November 10th, 1974, or whatever it was. And I just where there would be vocals, I just had this radio of a lost ship kind of So that meant a lot to me, and um, got into my dad who'd passed, and he was into boating, and so it was really, yeah. I'm happy with that album, and I like how it ends. Like the last tune, "Temple of the Sun." I knew I was going to get to this big restatement of this chorale, but I had to get there through all this really, busy, proggy stuff, and I was happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, I can say that prog rock is a very dangerous place to go. I think a lot of people hate prog rock, and for good reason, because there's a lot of horrible prog rock out there. And even from some of the best bands, that did prog rock, not everything they did is a lot of fun to listen to. This album is just fun to listen to. It's really well done start to finish. I don't think, I don't, there wasn't anything I listened to that I was like, okay, next track. No, I was very happy with it.
Cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, prog rock. I mean, it got knocked in the day. It got knocked starting in '79. Punk rock. I feel like here I am in North Jersey. I feel like most people I know and associate with are like post-punk rock people, and I've just never been punk rock or post-punk rock. I appreciate certain punk bands for sure, but I'm like, I'm not into music for irony. I'm not into music to deconstruct music. I'm really into music to use music how I liked it. So I guess that's the thing. You got to be really ironic, and the musical journey is a little bit tongue in cheek for you to really hate stuff like ambitious music.
Right.
It's not me. I'm not in it to poke. I'm not in it to like break it down. I should be, because I have a sense of humor. I have a lot of funny songs. I could totally rip apart music. It could be fun. Maybe I get more people listening. I don't know.
Well, you did. You ripped apart Harry Parch.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh, Jade 2021 is a jazz record. You get the chance to show off what you know about jazz, which is significant. And given all the other things you do, I have to say, wow, you actually know a lot about jazz too. Well done.
Well, I've always felt like my tonal language is whether it came from jazz, or like I'm just pushing tonality to the same place jazz was already in. I don't know, but I did play bass guitar in like the School of the Arts jazz band, and when I got to Oberlin, I played bass and some combos, and so I've been able to hang out and play some jazz with people, but Jade is like jazz composition. So there are things that are written that after it's all fleshed out, they sound more jazz than rock. So that's kind of why I put that moniker on it. And there's the big band thing, but there's not a whole lot of swinging and things like that on Jade. It's more composed music. The opening is my favorite. It's called Palisades. It could have been called anything, but it's like a bossa nova beat, and it's like the Sea and Cake of Nassau fame, or a band like them, who have kind of two interlocking guitars and a bass guitar, but it's next level of like, the lines are very complex, but they fit together, and it's just a bossa nova. Really like that one. Anyway, so thanks. That's kind of, I call that the fan favorite. I mean, most people I know they like that album, and I like that album. There's one on the new album that should have been on Jade too.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get it done in time. I don't have much patience. I'm not going to wait around for, so.
Well, or should you? I mean, just keep on putting them out. I mean.
Yeah.
So the next one surprised me, because after all these, pieces full of virtuosity and busyness, Trinity is very much an ambient album. It's very calm, and I mean, it's like almost something you could use to meditate. It seems almost anti-virtuosic.
Yeah. That's sort of an experiment in two things. triadic material that is going around in a circle without ever getting home, and also sort of an electronic orchestration exercise. Like it could be orchestrated for orchestra. I'm going to write a third one. It was Trinity. Then I was so happy about it, and actually I had a lot of good comments from friends about it. And then Pleiades, which is even a little more developmental.
Hmm.
I have a third one in mind that I was kind of poking around with in Switzerland. So it'll be a trilogy, and it could be if somebody wanted it, it could be an orchestral piece. I could definitely make a nice orchestral three-piece suite out of it. But yeah, yeah, it's all about these triads that don't ever get home.
Hmm.
And it's triadic, and that's the thing. That's my challenge. And yeah, stretching it long enough to yeah, yeah.
Well,
There you go.
was this okay? So now a question's occurring to me. Okay, here we have an idea, triads that never get home. You could see this as just one of many what if ideas that you may be having, but I'm starting to wonder if there's something behind some of these what if ideas. I mean, that's such a powerful idea of something not getting home. Are any of these pieces informed by something deeper in your life?
Um, mm,
It's like, is there a not getting home thing going on when you're writing Trinity? Is there a sense of trying to get somewhere and not getting anywhere? Is that in play, or is it always just a game of the moment?
I would say more a game of the moment, but I am a traveler, and um, I do want to get out and move and go see things. You know, I definitely want to travel a lot. I definitely want to like I just spent a month away from home. Now I'm happy to be home, and I miss my family, but um, I I really that before I took this trip, I was dying. I was telling people I might not come back. You know, I want to go to Europe. I want to go. I want to see the Alps. I want to go do something, and then I might just move along and see something else. And but I knew I wouldn't. I knew I'd get home for
Yeah.
in time for the holidays and see my family. But um, I don't know. That's the closest I can come to answer that. Otherwise, yeah, I don't have any massive backstory that lost, you know, any more than anyone else, you know, like that would trigger that concept so much, you know. But it's mostly experiments in sound. I mean, it's really, you know, that Gesualdo was my inspiration for Trinity. You know,
Hmm.
is weird, and at a time where everything is very simplistic and triadic in music, he would do things that were jolting and do triads that went in weird places. And I was like, okay, what if I did 85 chords like that instead of 16, you know, that jolted, and where does that take me? And yeah, it's like the experiment. I'd say it's an experimental mindset coming from Randy Coleman. You know, I off early in my early days, I would just be adamant that I'm an experimental composer, even though I was writing traditional scores. All the instruments are in the ranges, and you know the ranging is going to be fit the textbook definition of how the trombones and horns work together. But to me, I was always experimenting. My first piece at Michigan, for example, was a sextet for celesta, viola, bass clarinet, trumpet, bass marimba, and violin. I was like, mixed consort. What is this? Let me think of six instruments that I never see together. And that was just the first thing I wrote. Not particularly, it's kind of an adventurous piece. I don't know. But, everything, that's kind of where I come from, I guess.
I
I don't know
totally
why.
sympathize. I understand this completely because, you know, at our particular age of composer, here we are, we've got mentors who are all still, in that if you're not composing 12 tone music, you haven't moved on type of thing. That's how most of them taught, or at least that's how they were taught to, and they might rebel against it. And we're like, well, why can't I compose like Ravel? Why can't I compose like Mahler? Who says I can't? You know, why can't I go back? And they're like, no, no, you can't go back. But so going forward for us becomes, well, here's a problem nobody ever solved before in music, and maybe the means, maybe the sound may be romantic, but you know, Mahler didn't try to solve this particular problem. Beethoven didn't try to solve this particular problem. And what if he had?
Right, right. I also used electric guitar and electric bass in compositions early on. Even at Oberlin, I think the first successful piece I wrote at Oberlin was had an electric bass and a viola and a percussion playing the slit drum and a piano, prepared piano or something. That was the offstage flute thing. But that introduction of bass, of electric guitar stuff, it wasn't the first to do it, obviously, but no one else was kind of doing it, and no one else. It was rare, a little more rare then. But yeah, what you said something that made me think of something about. Oh yeah, the dogma, the 12 tone or not 12 tone. Yeah, there was a bit of that. I was blessed to be around. Michigan was pretty anti dogmatic, with Bolkman Albright. So that was kind of in the '90s were a good time at Michigan. There's a lot of things they were getting out of that. Oberlin was just getting their composition program going. I think they had just accepted 20 freshman and sophomore composition majors, and they had never done that before. They never had a composition major or something like that. And then at School of the Arts, I mean, Schaffer was he taught craft as you might have learned, from Haydn more so than like you have to learn. It was 12 tone was never spoken of. It wasn't like that. It was more of the mid-century, 20th century American. He studied with Martineau,
Yeah.
Giannini, Martineau,
Wow.
Frank Martin,
Well, we have one more album to talk about. Oh, actually two, but Pleiades, like you've mentioned it already. I was so happy to hear you mention that you're a Studio Ghibli fan. I am also. And Pleiades has very much a Studio Ghibli film score quality to it, which meant I really enjoyed it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've heard that. For some, I don't know why that one sounds more film scorey than something like Trinity. When to me a film score is mostly out of the way, but I guess because there's an arc in Pleiades, it definitely goes up. And what's funny is my music is very one way it's, and I guess not experimental, is that I'm a word Randy Coleman liked a lot, teleological composer. I write a drama that goes somewhere to a high point. Rouse would be the same way, vibing off of Berg, the Hohepunkt, the high point. You like the Fibonacci series, the three-quarters of the way through, you have a client. I do that. That's kind of like, mother's milk to me. So I guess Pleiades has that art, which I'm happy about. Yeah, that's in a lot of almost all these pieces. There's some directionality. It's working towards something, and whatever. Don't. Hopefully, people hear that and respond to that.
Well, I know I did. So you have a new album out. There's only a couple tracks off of it. One of them at the moment, we'll hear more of it, I assume, but I Drive is currently out. And this is another crazy turn from what you did before. This is another songwriting album. It's got words, but it's an odd combo. It's got this 70s vibe. It's got Broadway feelings to it, orchestration. It's a different turn.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's so that the standing back at the songs that are on it, that so many of them are pop. Like Once, I Drive. Some of them definitely aren't, but it really is kind of like, well, these are the ones on the desk. I really want to get these done. But it turns out that there's not much they're kind of in the pocket of pop and rock. But the arrangements are beyond what I've done, even on Jade. I mean, I went back to the same people I used on Jade, because that was during COVID, and that's when I had, the method of sending sheet music out, PDFs to friends, having them record a line and sending it back to me, and then I assemble it. But yeah, like I Drive has not only wind, brass and winds, but also a string quartet and a string orchestra pops in there for a few bars too. Which I don't know if we have time or if you want to get to my recent trip, but the string orchestra on the new album kind of feeds into how I get to Europe. This
I do want to talk about that. So hold that
Yeah.
story for a bit.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about that. But before we do, the only thing we haven't talked about, this is actually something you say you're known for, which is your operas. I have not had a chance to listen to almost any of your opera music because I didn't buy any of it. But I want you to talk about your operas because apparently they're very important to you. And I'd like you to just tell us about them.
Yeah. So the main ones, the second and third one, are you can get to at my website. They're on Vimeo, but there's a link in my website under opera, and so you can still see them all. And I subtitled them. Spent a lot of time on those videos. That sort of happened. I wasn't looking to write opera, but when I first moved to Brooklyn, I met a guy who was the librettist of these operas, and he asked me, first of all, for the first one, I'm putting on this play, you want to do some music for it. So I read the script, said, I'll just set the whole thing to music. It's like sort of a silly, sort of like throw down the gauntlet type of thing. But
Sure.
I found in doing that it came very fast and natural to me. Like if I have a story, if I know what I'm doing, character, like we've seen so many movies growing, our generation, or just what's going on dramatically in a scene is just second nature. I don't know. For me, it is. I can't imagine it not being for most people, but I had such an easy time writing that I wanted to do it again and again and again. So then the second script, libretto, comes out. That's the Forrestal opera. And at that point, I had to use small ensembles, but at that point, I'm tapping into some really interesting emotional things with these people, and it's really taking me into some music I really like. And then I had to kind of finish it off. The third one was the Frank Olson story, which is much better done there's a Netflix special called Wormwood, and you can see, if you see that, then you're ready for then you can get through my opera without feeling at all like it's overwhelming. But the thing about all that stuff is, forget about the compositional aspects of it, is putting them on. And when I was in New York, you got to talk to these 2 or 3 people. They do opera workshops, and they wouldn't return my emails, or it was like I would go see some of these workshops, and it was just like a couple songs with piano, and I was just like, it's not what I'm seeing here. I want to, I'd been knocking on doors in practice rooms for 15 years, getting musicians out, getting 5, 10, 15 musicians out to play my stuff. I wanted to put sets, singers, orchestra, chamber orchestra, whatever, up and see it. And that's how I want to see this opera. I don't want to work. I don't want to workshop anything. But that's just me. And that may have been a misstep because those doors are fairly closed to me. It seems like, but you go DIY in New York City with your opera, then it's as if you didn't even do them. Really, you got to go through. There are certain channels. But I did do them, and it was pretty extravagant, and it was thrilling, and I conducted it. I mean, hiring directors, dealing with stage manager, just having people around who I didn't pay very well, and so they weren't necessarily always happy, but some of them were. But some amazing people I worked with, just because they did it. They're amazing for doing it, but they also did it amazingly. But yeah, I would say for anyone for the operas to go to my website under the music menu, opera, and then if you go there, you'll see two of them, and they're on Vimeo, so anyone can see them.
Okay, I just missed
Yeah,
them. Sorry about that.
yeah,
I'll have to check those out.
that's all right.
It's something I have yet to do. It's a dream of mine. I have written a couple of librettos and I do want to turn them into operas, but I'm waiting for the right moment to get started on that. So,
Well, libretto. See, I'd like to write a libretto. I'm terrified. I thought I'd try it recently in Switzerland. It didn't go. I had a story. So if you're anyone who writes librettos, including you, if you show me your libretto, because I gotta have a libretto to operas. The librettist is very important. In fact, I worked for a composer who insisted. The standard split in the theater is the librettist 25 and the composer gets 75 for opera, because the opera is a composer, it's a musical genre. But I know some composers like, no, I mean, couldn't do it without the libretto. It's 50-50. It's just like a song. And they're very important. If you have a strong libretto, I mean, the opera should write itself, really, unless you're trying to do something you know,
weird.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah,
Lack of better
something that
word.
doesn't naturally go with the libretto.
Yeah. Yeah.